China is obviously a big country, amongst the biggest in the world, but unlike other big countries who use multiple time zones for good reason, China has just one time zone that covers the entirety of the country. But why? Surely this would create significant problems in timekeeping across the provinces of China and cause immense time-related chaos. Thus, it raises a simple question: why is all of China based on the same time zone? But first, we have to go back in time to fully understand a history of time in China.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
During the 1870s, a French Catholic Jesuit missionary oversaw the construction of the Shanghai Exuzhou Way Observatory. Subsequently, in the 1880s, authorities within the Shanghai French Concession initiated a time announcement service for ships arriving and departing from the port of Shanghai. This service relied on the utilization of Shanghai main solar time, which was determined by the aforementioned observatory in Shanghai. Towards the conclusion of the 19th century, the observatory transitioned the time standard to GMT+8. Subsequently, this practice proliferated among other coastal ports. In 1902, the concept of coastal time emerged as a proposed universal time zone for all coastal ports across China. However, the time zone for the remaining untamed regions of China remained unspecified and undetermined at that time. Prior to 1913, the prevailing time standard throughout China was the apparent solar time of Beijing, the country's capital at that time. However, starting in 1914, the government of the Republic of China began adopting Beijing local mean solar time as the official time standard. Subsequently, in 1918, the Central Observatory of the Beiyang government proposed 5 standardized time zones for the Republic of China. These 5 time zones included the Kunlun time zone with UTC plus 5.5 hours, the Xinjiang Tibet time zone with UTC plus 6 hours, the Kansu Sichuan time zone with UTC plus 7 hours, the Chungyuan time zone with UTC plus 8 hours, and the Changpai time zone with UTC plus 8.5 hours. Following the downfall of the Beiyang government in 1928, the Central Observatory was relocated to the city of Nanjing. As part of this transition, the reference time standard utilized for the creation of the traditional Chinese calendar shifted from Beijing main solar time to UTC plus 8 hours. During the 1930s, the previously proposed 5 time zones were largely disregarded, leading to various regions in the inner China area adopting their own time standards, which resulted in significant confusion and disorder. However, on the 9th of March 1939, a standard time conference organised by the Ministry of the Interior took place in the city of Chongqing. During this conference, it was decided to reinstate the 5 time zone proposal with slight modifications to their borders, which would be effective from the 1st of June. However, due to the onset of the Second Sino-Japanese War at that time, it was further determined that the entire country would utilise the Kansu Sichuan time zone, which was UTC plus 7 hours, as a unified time standard. After the conclusion of World War II, the 5 time zone system was reinstated, although historical information regarding the utilisation of time in the Kunlun and Changpai zones is scarce. In 1947, a refined system was introduced, which included adjustments to the zone assignments in the northwestern part of Gansu province. This updated system was scheduled for implementation in 1948. However, as the Chinese Civil War drew to a close between 1949 and 1950, regional governments under the influence of the Chinese Communist Party or CCP, excluding those in Xinjiang and Tibet, transitioned to adopting the same time as Beijing, the now capital of the country. This standard time, known as Beijing time or China Standard Time, aligns with UTC plus 8 hours. The reason why the Chinese Communist Party chose to use a sole time zone instead of multiple was in an effort to prevent separatism. Chinese history has been marked by numerous instances of fragmentation and subsequent reunification under regional warlords. The last instance of China's fragmentation resulted in a decline from being the world's largest economy to enduring the humiliation of recurring imperialist treaties from mainly Western powers, a rampant opium addiction, and a so-called century of humiliation. To ensure that such divisions never occur again, the Chinese Communist Party was and is resolute in preserving China's unity, since China is quite a big place, has a history of fragmentation, and is home to many different peoples. One of the most audacious measures taken was the implementation of a single time zone for the entire country, aiming to enhance cohesion among the population in theory. Thus, adopting Beijing time as the standard allows for better synchronization and coordination across all aspects of governance within China. This has been me, Jack, and that would be the end of the video. but during my research I found some quite interesting information that I couldn't leave out. In Xinjiang, two simultaneous time standards are employed, Beijing time and Xinjiang time. Xinjiang time is established based on the region's geographical location in the westernmost part of the country. It follows a time offset of UTC plus 6 hours, which is 2 hours behind Beijing time, and the time standard is shared with neighbouring Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. Certain local Xinjiang authorities have adopted the practice of utilising both time standards concurrently. However, the presence of two time zones within the same region often leads to confusion among the local population, particularly during interracial communication. When discussing time between individuals of Han, the main ethnic group of China, and Uyghur, the main ethnic group of Xinjiang ethnicities, it becomes essential to explicitly specify whether the time refers to Xinjiang time or Beijing time, or alternatively, convert the time based on the ethnicity of the other person. This dual time standard is especially noticeable in Xinjiang television, where the Chinese channel follows Beijing time while the Uyghur and Kazakh channels adhere to local Xinjiang time. In Xinjiang, users of Beijing time typically schedule their daily activities 2 hours later compared to those living in eastern China. Consequently, stores and offices in Xinjiang commonly operate from 10 AM to 7 PM, according to Beijing time, which corresponds to 8 AM to 5 PM in Xinjiang time. In most areas of Xinjiang, the opening hours of local authorities are further adjusted by shifting the morning session 30 to 60 minutes earlier, and the afternoon session 30 minutes later. This modification aims to extend the lunch break by 60 to 90 minutes, effectively avoiding the intense heat experienced during the noon hours in the region, particularly during the summer season. And now with everything related to Xinjiang behind us, it's now time to talk about the other stuff I found out while researching. Ever wondered what the flags of the Chinese provinces look like? Well, here they are. Yes. The joke is that they don't exist. I'm surprised I didn't know this until now, but it turns out that Chinese provinces don't have flags. In a similar vein to the time zone, it's to promote unity. The Chinese Communist Party believes that no region within China possesses a cultural distinctiveness or autonomy warranting the display of a separate flag. This policy seeks to reinforce the idea that all regions of China are an integral part of the collective whole, without emphasizing any perceived cultural uniqueness. Daylight saving time was observed in China from 1945 to 1948, and again from 1986 to 1991. However, today, China does not follow daylight saving time. In 1997 and 1999, Hong Kong and Macau, previously under the administration of the United Kingdom and Portugal respectively, were transferred to China as special administrative regions. While the sovereignty of these regions now rests with China, Hong Kong and Macau maintain their own policies regarding time zones due to historical factors. Both Hong Kong and Macau follow the Hong Kong time and Macau Standard Time respectively, which are consistently set to UTC plus 8 hours throughout the year due to the geographic position. This aligns them with Beijing time, and much like Beijing, daylight saving time has not been implemented in either, with Hong Kong ending it in 1979 and Macau in 1980. In Hong Kong, the adoption of Greenwich Mean Time, or GMT, as a reference time began in 1904, and later in 1972, Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC, became the standard. Prior to these developments, local time in Hong Kong was determined through astronomical observations conducted at the Hong Kong Observatory, employing a 6-inch Lee equatorial telescope in a 3-inch transit circle. Notably, the border between China and Afghanistan at the Wakjir Pass experiences the most significant official time difference among all international land borders, with the transition going from UTC plus 8 hours in China to UTC plus 4.5 hours in Afghanistan. In the case of Taiwan, which operates independently from the governance of the People's Republic of China, it uses UTC plus 8 hours as its standard time, which is due to Taiwan's longitudinal position rather than other factors. This has been me, Jack, and if you're in China right now, make sure your clocks are set to UTC plus 8 hours.